I agree with your point. If they start overflow parking off of their site, then we would have obvious discussions. But I think, one of our jobs is to review and ensure that they have adequate parking on site to accommodate this use. And while we don't have a prescribed standard in our ordinance specifically, we've worked with them and we've looked at other facilities. I can just tell you this type of facility, if it stays like this, as the senior facility with the memory care that they've broken down and even the independent living, this facility, they have more parking than what is needed. Those generally park low. They, I mean, I don't know. I know the average age of the residents in the independent living, I know in this area is generally somewhere in the high 70s. I don't know if that's maybe even higher.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Oh,
yep.
You're up.
Yep. Hey.
I thought you moved. You might have the number exactly for your facilities. I just know generally, I mean, like Western Metro, when I do these in other communities, that's about what it is.
And there is underground parking as well.
Yeah, there is.
I mean, it doesn't all have to be on the surface.
Yeah, one of the analytical points that we had done was we reached out to, we have 2 properties in the West Metro, a little bit east of here, reached out to the administrators there and just asked them what, based on your occupancy, how many cars are you parking? And for an AL-IL mix, specifically, I think one has like 86 residents and one has like 64. And between the two of them, they came back and they said collectively, so what is that, roughly 140 total residents, they park about 15 cars. So the underground parking is very large for the potential demand. But we also know that we have to show that we have it, not just for you, but also for the residents that could need them. So, but if anybody's looking for somewhere to store their boat in the winter, give us a call.
Don't go down that road.
But again, I will mention Maple Terrace because when that was built, they only had, I don't know what the number was, very small. And when people started moving in, they went, "Oh my gosh, you're still driving cars? Why are you driving cars in Maple Plain?" Well, how are you going to get anywhere? There is no other way to get anywhere in Maple Plain without a car. And they've expanded that parking lot about 3 times, and they still park on the street. It's still inadequate. It was inadequate from the time it was built, not only now, but from the time it was built, it was inadequate. And we are very dependent upon our cars here. And I'm not sure where Mark was going with the upper 70s. Am I not supposed to drive anymore, Mark?
No, I was saying I was trying to explain how young the people moving into that building were.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Good.
I was just wondering at the upper 70s. Thank you.
What people are surprised about when you talk about independent living is the average age, so of people moving into those facilities.
Yes.
Because we're staying younger and healthier, it's actually older than you think. Independent living often is 55 plus or something like that, but the average age in these facilities is much higher. So,
yeah, I think one of the things that kind of skews the perception too of the parking is that you hear we've got 135 units, and I don't remember the parking count specifically off the top of my head, but
91.
with the vast reduction comes over in the care center side. Of that 135, 64 of those residents are care center residents, and the parking requirements is 1 to 4. So that dramatically drops the parking need, and that one is actually more for the staff that's serving the resident than it is for the resident. So we just kind of take that into consideration too, as you just kind of run the mental math and the logic between the numbers. Even the parking ratio for IL is not 1 to 1. It's 0.75 to 1. So, so it is calculated. The number one issue that we have with parking, and I believe we worked with the administrator who's in the room to make sure we have this. Number one issue is staff shift. When you have your first shift and then your second shift overlap for about 30 to 45 minutes. We've worked through staffing with them pretty meticulously and feel that actually the way it's trending right now is that, as Mark said, we have a good, healthy amount of parking to meet that. That also takes into consideration guests that are coming during the day, guests that might be there in the overlap period. So it's there by no means is it an exact science, but we've looked at the numbers and feel very comfortable with what it is, especially relating it to other facilities that have a full continuum like this now.
Good, good.
Do you know the numbers of approximately how much staff, like during the day?
I don't have them off the top of my head. I don't have those
It
reports in
said
front of me
24 or something like that? I think it was 24
during the day.
during the day.
Because I noticed last night that
That,
on that corner where the nursing home is, there was cars everywhere. There was you couldn't hardly get through the street.
Correct. Yeah, and we're very much aware of that. So, and again, we've worked with the existing site, because a lot of those care center beds are coming from there. So, we're looking at their current parking situation and also correlating that with what we're proposing. So, we work really hard to make sure, some of the existing building, Elam Care, we didn't develop that. That was we acquired that a couple of years ago. When we come into new communities or stay in existing ones, we're trying to fix those problems as a result. So, we're pretty dialed in on those nuisance issues. We're aware of those, but anticipate that we'll resolve it.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I do. I have one that I asked you before, and you didn't really know the answer. The existing building,
Mm-hmm.
do you know what's going to happen to that?
We still don't. We know that we're going to try and find a way to use it. We're going to look at the options that we have as far as a senior care provider to see if there's a way to utilize it that way. But at this point, we've put so much mental focus on trying to get to tonight that there really hasn't been space for a discussion about that. So,
Okay.
Senior daycare.
senior daycare, sure, which actually is included in the new building.
In here,
so
yeah.
it is
I
part
did
of it.
see that. Yeah. Other questions? Okay. Any further questions or concerns from the audience?
Sorry. I just have a quick comment from that was submitted by the Park District. This was before the last meeting, so some things or the last review of the plan, so some things have changed. But essentially in this letter, they are, encouraged us to look at walking and biking pathways through the property, so connecting from Baker Park Road to Howard, which I know there are sidewalks going all the way through. So that's been addressed, and I know that it wasn't fully clear at the last plan, so just wanted to make that note.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, so I'm Nicole Kumaro from 4830 Main Street. And so my question was if there's been any analysis on how this new boulevard might affect traffic patterns in the area. Like I know Main Street, just north of there, is a heavily used road. And so, for example, I walk to the park and ride every day, and sometimes at 19 it gets a little sketchy with the trucks going 2 feet from you. So I'm wondering what we've done to analyze how that might change.
I think there have been some comments. I think part of it we'll know after things have started up. I think that the county has to weigh in because 29 is a county road, and Medina has to weigh in on that. And I think usually what happens is the site gets put into play and they watch the traffic to see. My guess is that there'll be a good traffic analysis sometime after everything is done.
Okay.
Are you asking an impact on Main Street traffic, or are you asking for
Or
an
on
impact
29,
on
just
overall traffic?
Overall, how the traffic patterns might change in that area.
Yeah, this is going to bring an increase of traffic to that area. Overall, that's a heavily trafficked road, but it does have quite a bit of capacity. we haven't, as a city, required or done a separate analysis, but the county has looked at it. I don't know that they formally did a study, but they looked at it and approved our access and this use, being able to access out onto their road. So to a certain extent, that's what we can do. They know that as this area continues to grow and build out, that the intersection at County Road 29 and Highway 12 needs to be addressed. And there are plans that they've put together relating to adding turn lanes and things like that to the intersection. But I don't know from a city standpoint that we know the county's triggers for some of those improvements.
Okay.
So the city itself has not done additional analysis, but we did work with the county to get approval to put this in. Just one thing I can say, just from a circulation standpoint, having the through street is going to change how people function on Main, like on, right now on Main Street and Howard and 29, because there isn't a cross access that provides an ability to come through this site. So maybe that has an impact with bringing some of the traffic from off of Main Street or the local
bring it
system
down.
and bringing it down
I
on
think it
this
would, yeah.
new
I would
kind of
think it
commercial
would.
through street.
Don't
But
you? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it would.
Okay,
You know,
thank you.
you're welcome. One of the things that, it's usually something bigger, but they have, sometimes I'll go through something where there's I don't remember what the signs say, but what it amounts to is, please note, new traffic management change.
Traffic change.
Traffic change or
Mhm.
something like that. And maybe it's something that both MnDOT and Hennepin County could do, you know, going on 29 and also on 12, to say, hello, pay attention. Which probably would help. There seems to be often, you know, enough people who are sitting there texting at the stoplights with the police, so it might help with things like that too. But saying that there's a difference in traffic management might
Traffic
help
flow.
for a little while. Okay, then the recommendations, are they still what you had referenced on page 11?
yes.
Okay. And you had made note about the divider things, making sure maybe to have something that was continuous between the parking lot and the new road. So that would be added in there. And as I read this, I think they're all, you know, valid. Proposed site plan and preliminary plat meets all applicable conditions, criteria, and restrictions stated in the City of Maple Plain zoning and subdivision ordinance. Prior to the City Council's review of the site plan, the applicant shall complete the following items. Address all engineering comments made in the letter from Stantec. The applicant shall address all comments made by the Planning Commission, and revise the site plan to address all comments made by the city's review letter dated April 26th. And the usual caveat that's always in all these. Applicant shall pay for all costs associated with the city's review of the site plan and preliminary plat review. I don't think there was anything else that we were adding.
Unless there was any, if there's any other recommendations on the landscape piece, or we've already talked about the sidewalk in front, we will incorporate that. Obviously, we take your recommendation, council gets it, we kind of summarize it, and then we put it into a resolution proposal that goes in front of the city council that's got more detail than this. So if you have any other recommendations, we'd incorporate them in, but I think we've addressed most of them. Most of the comments that are incorporated into these recommendation points have been addressed. So our April 26th review letters have been
Addressed.
mostly addressed,
Okay.
but not wholly addressed. So
Okay, all right.
So-
I'm going to close the public hearing at 7, the light's in the way, 7:13.
I was just gonna say, ask Dan, you also have a letter here from July 10th. Are we going to reference the letter from April 26th or July 10th?
I think what, yeah,
The latest one.
right, because the new changes that they made, they addressed a lot of the April
Yeah.
26th one. So I would recommend using the July 10th one.
Okay.
So condition number 2A would be
2A.
updated to be July 10th.
Okay.
And how about, yeah, C will stay the same?
It will.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then we need a motion to make that recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
So this is going to go to the city council meeting on Monday, July 16, which is next Monday. So anybody in the audience who wants to attend the council meeting, that's when it's going to be.
Excellent.
It'll be at 5:30, not 7 as the normal time, just as a note.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. All right. Let me find my agenda. All right. We're at the end.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Unless somebody has anything else, we can entertain a motion. Okay.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. How exciting.
So yeah, thank you, planning commissioners, for bearing with us on our truncated time frame for review. I know that it's not easy